What's your favorite story of love?
That is a really tricky question. There's a movie I saw recently. It's a Japanese movie called Weathering with You.
I've not seen that.
It's an animated movie. This guy, he created what was at one time the biggest grossing anime of all time. But this movie, Weathering with You, is about a young guy and a girl who are, in this kind of, this young love. There's this kind of mythical story where it's constantly raining in Tokyo, and she has the power to make the rain go away. They call her a sunshine girl. She's so prized because she's the sunshine girl. And so she's constantly called upon by people who are running events or fireworks displays or whatever to come along and make it stop raining. Spoiler alert for anyone who's not seen Weathering with You, by the way, I'll come back in 3 minutes. But there's every time she does it, a piece of herself starts to disappear. And it gets to the point where she completely floats up into the sky and no longer has a presence here on Earth because she's given so much as the sunshine girl. And there's a moment where he goes to save her from up in the clouds because he realizes she can't, even if she comes back down to Earth and never does another thing as a sunshine girl and all it does is rain all day, he still chooses her.
Wow.
And for me at least, I'm not saying the director meant this, but it's so beautiful because it felt to me like a story of a person who is accepting that even if being with you means that it's raining, I still choose you. I don't just choose you when the sun is shining. And there's something stunningly beautiful to me about that, because it's a much more grown-up kind of love than the one that we tend to look for in our 20s or as teenagers, and some of us for the rest of our lives, where we love someone as long as the sun is shining. But when the chips are down and when things are tough, they start reassessing everything. I suppose getting older myself, and I realize I'm still relatively speaking a young man, but getting older myself, it's become much more apparent to me the importance of reevaluating what is actually important in a partner. And we tend to, our younger selves, we do have this list of things that we think we want that seem important. It might be charisma, it might be the fact that someone is super sexy because they can speak 3 languages, or that they've achieved a certain status in their life or an award or whatever. They can play the guitar, and we rate these things as these things. And we when we think of losing someone, we look at all of those things and go, I couldn't lose them. They're funny and they're charismatic and they're super fun to be around, and they're sexy, and they can play the guitar, and they can speak 3 languages, and it still is a kind of Instagram profile version of a person. And someone recently said to me, like, I'm in a relationship with a guy, and he plays the guitar, and I find that really sexy, and he's really good looking, and I'm like, he doesn't need, in order to be in a relationship with you, he doesn't need to be great at music. He needs to be great at a relationship. And if you want to hear someone play guitar really well, go to a John Mayer concert.
Like Ed Sheeran or whatever.
Like you don't need that every day in your relationship. Right? What's important in a relationship is someone who is really competent in a relationship and has those skills. And those skills are hard won. It's one of the reasons that relationships with big age gaps don't work. It's not because there is necessarily a chasm in the way these two people feel. It's that there is a huge chasm when it comes to their relationship competence and their experience, and that really does matter. And if you're with someone who has a far lower level of relationship experience, then they either have to learn through you, which is going to be a painful process. They're going to make a lot of mistakes. They're going to hurt you a lot in the process. that you're going to feel like you're going to have to be careful of avoiding the role of teacher constantly in the relationship and try and be equals in a situation that's inherently kind of unequal. And you're going to have to hope that they do learn those skills. You're making quite a big bet on the idea that one day they will have that skill set. Some people take most of their lives to get it, and some people never learn it because they're not the kind of people that want to grow and be self-aware and do the work. And so I have come to really believe that my view of love has changed to the extent that I think, firstly, the idea of, you know, is it about meeting the right person or is it about being the right time? And I've started to weight my opinion far more towards time.
Wow.
That when you have decided it's the right time for you to really meet someone, you go into love with a completely different intentionality. Love isn't happening to you. It's not this wave that's washing over you, which is super easy. When a wave's washing over you, you just stand there and just bask in the goodness of how wonderful it feels to feel that sort of drug. But that's not the same thing as intentionally. There's a difference between winning the lottery and starting a business. You know, when you start a business, there's a method, there's a pragmatism to it, the things you need to do in order to build this thing. And I think that to me, I don't think I've developed a less romantic view. I actually, if anything, have more and more come to see a person who's in a place where they're willing to actually do the work of a relationship as romantic.
Yeah.
And I think people consistently get burned when they're not factoring into the equation of how right someone is, whether this person is demonstrating A, that they are also at a time in their life where they're looking for the same thing, and B, that they have genuine great relationship skills. Like, you know, we're all going to argue at some point, but how do we argue?
Yeah.
Right. That's just one area, but it's a huge thing. So that to me would probably be the biggest shift. I believe in timing more these days, and I believe that we undervalue to an incredible extent genuine relationship skills, and we overvalue just kind of mindless attraction. And one of the biggest problems is people falling for people really quickly.
Yes.
Falling in love too fast, where it's because they went on a couple of great dates with a guy, and they can look at the date and go, he was amazing, and you should have seen what he did and how he was on the date and all of that. And the thing I have to always break down is that may not have been about you. It is about something he wanted you to feel by the end of the date. And not that, you know, I kind of loathe this culture we have right now where everyone's a narcissist.
Yes,
like
yes,
we're so quick to like label.
Yeah.
He's a narcissist. She's a narcissist. I'm like, not everyone. Like, we all have a narcissistic streak.
Absolutely.
And we all exhibit narcissistic behaviors at times. That doesn't mean we're a diagnosable narcissist.
Completely.
But a narcissistic streak we all have early in dating, and to differing degrees, is the desire to impress rather than connect. And so we go on a date with someone, and, you know, at the height of it, if someone's really on the extreme end, they will give the greatest date of someone's life.
Yeah.
And that person goes away and they're like, this guy is amazing, or this person. And they may have put on an amazing date, but you know nothing yet. And what's cool about your wife, you know, going through that process with you is, you know, I can imagine for her, it's almost like, well, I want to see how you are in week 4.
Yeah.
Or I want to see how you are in month 3.
Yeah.
And until you've been there, you really don't know how great of a partner somebody is going to be.
Yeah.
And that's what I mean by, you know, when you ask me about what I've really learned about love, and I talked about valuing the wrong things, that's one of the big ways that it shows up. If you are getting crazy nervous on a date, you're already, that's already a reflection of the fact that you've valued the wrong things, because you're valuing this person's looks, or their status or what you perceive them to be. But you're not valuing them in a relationship or in relation to you, which is defined by how much they give, how they connect with you, how they relate to you, how they see you.
Yeah.
All of that stuff you're a zero.
Yeah.
So how can you be nervous if you're valuing the right things? You can only be nervous if you're valuing the wrong things.
Mm-hmm.
If that, to me, is the key to eliminating nerves in early dating. Is that I almost feel a little fatalistic about it, which is funny coming from someone who gives advice in this area for a living, because, I do believe that we can influence situations with what we do, but we do have to have a bit of a dose of fatalism that the thing that didn't pan out wasn't the thing.
Mm-hmm.
The person who's still great in week 8 is showing you the right things. But if they suddenly ghost you in week 9, then it doesn't mean they would have been great in week 16.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, but they were the one, and I don't know I need closure. You have closure.
Mm-hmm.
That action was closure. What they showed you is they had 8 good weeks in them.
Yeah.
And you sit there and you obsess over someone who just left you, you obsess over what they could have been.
Yeah.
Right?
That's what it is.
Could have, this was so promising. They were everything that I was looking for. This could have been. And anytime someone breaks up with us, the heartbreak is the loss of the life we thought we were going to have with someone. This is what it could have been. This is what it should have been.
Yeah.
And my answer to that is, it would have been if it should have been and could have been.
Yeah.
Then it would have been. You're literally, you're grieving over something that was not, by definition, it wasn't meant to happen because it didn't happen.
Yes.
Like,
Yeah.
It didn't happen. So this idea that it was supposed to or it should have is myth. It's a fantasy. It's science fiction.
Yeah.